Hey everybody, welcome to our Wednesday tutorial. I'm Sandy Reese with Stampin'Crew.com and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today I have some fun cards. They're very quick and simple, but they're using our markers, and then I'm going to show you a couple tips on your markers. So, before we get started, I wanted to announce our winner from last week's sharing. Those demonstrators that shared the projects and the video that we did last week using the reverse stamping were eligible, went into a drawing to receive 4 cards that we made. And the winner this week is Vicki Collins. So just a tip, if you are sharing and you want to be entered into the drawing for the cards, you need to make sure you're a part of our Crew Stampers forum on Facebook. Hi Kathleen. You want to make sure you join our Crew Stampers forum on Facebook, because if you're not a member, I can't see who's sharing. So if you want to share for a chance to win the projects that we worked on, make sure that you join our group. Okay, congratulations, Vicki. So today we have a couple cards that we're going to use the colorings, and then the markers. And now we're not using our blends today. We are going to use the Stampin'Write markers. So I'm going to flip you upside down. Give me just a second here. So you'll be right side up as we're working. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so this is our first one. So it's just using a little bit of color blocking, but what I want to show you is the technique to do this. And this is not a new technique, and we don't use it a whole lot because it does take a little longer. But it's fun, and sometimes we forget about doing it. So I'm going to use this stamp set. This is Seriously the Best. It's in the January through May mini catalog. And I'm going to use the Hello Friend. And this coloring technique works really well on like these bold stamps. So I'm going to use my Stampin'Write markers to color the Hello Friend. I'm going to start with Melon Mambo, and I'm just going to and I don't color straight down. I color on the side. That way you don't ruin the tips of your markers, because we certainly don't want to ruin the tips. See how far down I want to go. Probably down to the middle of the E. That's about right. Okay, make sure that's covered. Next, I'm going to use Daffodil Delight. I'm going to flip it around so I'm not really touching that. I'm going to go across right where it meets first, and then wipe it off in case I get any pink on my yellow. Okay, and then I'm just going to go across, get across the top of the Friends. All right. And then the last color I'm going to use on this one is Coastal Cabana. And I always use the brush part of my marker. I never use the small part unless I'm writing, because it's so thin. It just will take you forever to use that. So I only use that like 0.5% of the times I'm using my markers. Okay, so I feel like I've got that pretty well covered. Now, normally, what you could just do is give it a huff, like that. But another thing you can do is and because sometimes if it's a big stamp, sometimes you'll see those little lines from the markers, is take a spritzer with a little bit of water. And I'm not going to do this on camera. I'm going to spritz it from a distance of about 12 inches once, just to moisten it up a bit. Okay, I spritzed it twice, I lied. And what that will kind of do is allow the color to bleed right where they meet, bleed just a little bit. And then I'm going to stamp this right near the top, and then hold it for a second. And there you go. Super quick and easy. Now, if you have a huge stamp that you're doing, it may take a little longer to do the coloring. But this is kind of just a fun little fun little thing to do. It says, hello friend, I miss you a lot. We'll just do that in memento. All right, and then we'll go ahead and finish our card. I just did a half sheet of white, and I will put all the measurements on my blog after we get this video finished up. Oh, where is my bone folder? That is a good question. That's what happens when I clean up my desk and put things away. I have to look for them all. Okay, so I used a little of the Melon Mambo. I love this color. On a layer of basic black. And we'll just put a little basic glue on here and put that on our card front. I felt it needed just a little bit of color to make this pop, so I put a little strip of Daffodil Delight right there. And we're going to glue this. This is using stitch rectangles, and then the, or not, stitch squares, and then the layering squares framelits right here. All right, let's pop this up. Using up the last of this sheet of dimensionals. Always make sure you use the edges of your dimensionals too, because they work just as well. You just have to cut it apart. I usually take all my, after done with classes, if it's getting low, that's what I bring upstairs and I use them. All right, and I'm just gonna pop this up basically in the middle of the card, and then put a couple of these little fun enamel dots from the annual catalog. Whoops. I'm going to use the pineapple punch ones. Let's see, we'll put one there. Put this one here. These are so nice and bright. It's a little different than using rhinestones, so it gives it a fun pop of color there. All right, so that is one way to use your markers. Now, the next card, we're going to do a little congrats card. I know it's getting close to graduation time. This has a little pocket in here, so it could be a money holder or a gift card holder or a check holder. But I'm going to show you how to do this fun background right here. So for this one, you're going to need a Stampin' Pierce mat, and I've just taped a piece of paper around it to protect it. And I'm taking a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and then I'm taking a block. This is the H block. And I'm going to color on this with my markers. All right, we're going to start with Melon Mambo. I just went ahead and kept kind of the color scheme. So I'm doing less than an inch, like 3/4 of an inch, going back and forth with my Melon Mambo marker. And then we're going to do the Daffodil Delight. And I'm just coloring directly on my block. Do some daffodil. We're going to add a little Granny Apple Green. Oh, I keep pulling the wrong end off. Hard to see here. Let's put it on the white. I actually might make these a little bit bigger. Hold on a second. I'm going to make the color blocks a little larger. Okay, let's start again. We'll do it on here so we can see a little better. And do a good inch plus of melon, then daffodil, and if you get it, just wipe it off if you get a little of the other color on there. Okay, daffodil's next. Then we're going to go with Granny Apple Green. All right, then I'm going to do Coastal Cabana. Some of these are light, so it's hard to see. And then Bermuda Bay at the end. And that's pretty close to Coastal Cabana, but I don't need a huge variance. Okay, so then what you're going to do is spritz the block again with some water. And I'm going to spritz this off camera, but then I'll show you what it looks like. I'm going from about 12 inches away, and I'm spritzing pretty good, so you can see the water pooling on there, making little petals. So it's so cool when we go and stamp. And I'm going to stamp it kind of up about there, and watch how it, see how that water just kind of spreads. And then I'm going to hold it down and just hold it for a second, make sure it's all soaked in. I can see where I didn't get quite enough water right where that green is. Can you see that kind of white spot? That's all right. All right. So when I'm going to let this dry for a minute. When this dries, and I'll show you this one that's already dry, if you can see it this close, I don't know. It almost looks like pressed paper, like you've made handmade paper around the edges. And you can even feel a texture difference between where it's stamped and the white, because of the water kind of helps make it feel a little bit different. So while that's drying, let's go ahead and we'll just assemble our card base. And this is a little different in dimensions. It's 5.5 by 7.5, and then I scored it at 4 1/4 and 1. So our 1 inch is going to be our little pocket. And I'm going to put just a little bit of tear and tape to hold our pocket closed. All right. And I can go ahead and glue my black down. All right. Once again, I'll put dimensions on my blog once we get this done. And I have pre-stamped You Did It, which is from the stamp set, and I just did it on black scrap paper and then heat embossed it with white embossing powder. So I'm just going to flag the ends real quick. All right, we'll put a little bit of dimensionals on the back. Let's see what I have here. I can cut this in half. This bit's pretty thin, so we need to cut them a little thin to get on there. I bought these little kind of Teflon coated scissors because the adhesive won't stick to it. Okay, so we'll bring this back. I'm going to go ahead, let's glue our stars down. Glue our big star. These are using the stars dies that were in the holiday catalog, and they've been carried over. And then some silver glimmer paper, because I love glimmer paper. We'll pop that up on top. And then I cut a little teeny star that I have just flung somewhere. There it is. It didn't pick up. All right, we'll put a teeny bit of glue on the back of that one. We'll stick that up there. I probably shouldn't have, because I do have to stamp congrats now. No, okay, we're gonna pull that off. Always stamp and then glue. I tell you that, and then look what I do. I glue and then stamp. Not good. All right, you want to make sure this is completely dry. That feels dry. Because if you stamp it while it's wet, it will run. All right, that looks good. Hopefully it's as dry as it feels. Okay. Yay! Okay, I'm going to glue my star back now. Fortunately, it wasn't too dry yet. Okay, I'll get it under the S. All right. Take a little bit of multi-purpose glue and glue this to the front of our little gift card money holder and give it a good press. All right. So if you shared this video, I'll have a drawing next week for all 4 of these cards. You can win all 4. Before we finish up though, I want to show you how to a couple tips with your markers. So I'm going to take my Daffodil Delight marker, which I noticed was starting to get slightly dry, but you can refill these. So let me show you how to refill them. Take the cap off. Then you can take a paper towel. I have this rag. I keep some rags in my craft room. You're going to grab the tip and just pull the tip out. Okay? Then take your ink refills into the cap, or to the top. There's a hole in there, if you can see. And I am just going to slowly, one drop at a time, re-ink, put re-inker in here. All right, now sometimes it'll kind of pool up in there. Give it a little tap and it will get down through. It's a small opening in there. And you don't want to overfill it. I'm going to add 1 or 2 more drops. Oh, I got an air bubble. Sometimes air bubbles happen. So you can take, yeah, just pop it there. I'm only going to add, like, I think 2 more. All right. That's good for now. All right, then grab it again with your paper towel or your rag and just stick it back down in there. All right. If it's real dry, you can also put a drop or 2 on the tip. I wouldn't use it immediately. Go ahead and cover it up. Let everything soak through, and they'll be ready to go in a little while. Now, one other tip. What happens if you have a marker? Here's an old olive marker that I have, where my tip is starting to get a little mushy. It's not real fine, and this happens, it happens when you're using them for classes or if you're coloring too hard on the points, but it's really kind of fuzzy. So I have found a place called Tips for Markers where you can buy marker tips. They come 4 in a pack, and if you look at it, here's the replacement marker, and these are Stampin' Up replacement markers. It's slightly different. You'll see this part is a little bit shorter, but the brush part is exactly the same. You can take this, you can re-ink your marker, and then use your new tip. So I'm going to re-ink this a little bit. And I'm not even sure that it needs re-inking so much as it needed a new tip. But some of my ink is going to go into this new tip. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw a little more ink in there. Take your new tip, put it into your marker. This is the first time I'm doing this, so you guys are seeing this with me for the first time. And then because this is a brand new tip, go ahead and put some re-inker on here. All right, we're going to let that soak for a minute. Soak in, and then we're going to come back and try it out. All right, I'm going to put the lid on, let it soak. I'm going to throw this away. Okay, so with the winner next week, I'm going to give you 2 tips, 2 free marker tips. And these are not good on the blends. These are only going to work in our Stampin'Write markers. 2 free marker tips along with the cards. So make sure you share the video this week. All right, one other tip while this is drying. Let's look at it. Okay, it looks like it's soaked in. And what I would probably do is just do this a couple, 2 or 3 times to make sure it gets soaked through to the center. All right, that looks pretty wet. I'm gonna set that aside, let it sit for a second. Okay, one last tip. I was gonna show you Wink of Stella. We all love Wink of Stella, but if you look at the light, it doesn't come with a whole lot of stuff down here. So once it starts to dry out, I will show you how to get a little bit more Wink of Stella out of here. So you take off the lid. unscrew it, and we have this black piece right here. All right, it's a very small hole. It's very difficult to get anything into that hole. So what I have done is you take from your pick tool, or your Stampin' pick tool, I guess. I take this little spatula end, and I'm going to pry this little black stopper out of here. You got to get right underneath it. It's very tight. I was able to get 2 of them off last night. Squeezing air bubbles out of my Stella. Probably an X-Acto knife would work too, but my husband stole mine. There it goes. Okay, so take this out, and this is a long tube. And you see at the end it has a hole that it will pick up the extra glitter and stuff. So I'm just using a little bit of alcohol out of my giant bottle of alcohol. Really, I don't want to set this down because I am going to set it down though, so I can work on this. I'm going to put a little bit of alcohol in here, maybe a quarter full. And if you hold it up to the light, let me get a light in here and see if you can see. It's probably going to blind you, but if you so you just have to take my word for it. If you hold it up to the light, you can see how much liquid is in there. Now that I blinded everyone, I'm going to put just a little more. Don't fill it all the way up because this still has to fit in here and you don't want it overflowing. All right, so I pop that back in. I'm going to put the lid back on and shake it really good. Now, if this tip is really dry, what you can do where it says push, you can push, I just push very gently, but it does take quite a while until it starts working. And then you can get, let me see if I have a piece of scrap paper in here. Just a little piece of scrap until it starts getting wet on the end, and then you have your wink of Stella, and that will help get more of that glitter out of there. I would just keep doing that until you don't get any more glitter, because get as much for your money as you can. So that is how to refill our ink of Stella. All right, let's look at our marker again. All right, that looks soaked in. Oh my gosh, it's such a nice firm tip, and it writes so nice. I'm going to add more ink in there and let it sit some more. And I might even let it sit up for a while so that ink in the well will soak down into the tip really nicely. All right, so I'm going to re-ink this one more time. Now I have a brand new marker. And once again, if you want to order some of these, it's called Tips No. 4 Markers. Let me show you their card. Tips for Markers at yahoo.com. They're in Webster, New York. The website is www.tipsformarkers.blogspot.com. And it just gives you quick instructions on how to do what I just did. But if you share, you get 2 free ones. We only sell our markers in sets of 10 now. So if you have one that goes bad or gets dry, you have to order a whole nother set of markers to get a new one. So to avoid that, you can re-ink it always. There are several of these I've re-inked several times. Or you can purchase a new tip to go in there and just refresh your whole marker. All right, so flip you guys back up, see if anybody had any questions. Hi, everybody. I see Joanne, Kathleen, Patty, Sharon, Lynette. Hi, everybody. Okay, well, thanks for stopping by today, and I'll get these posted on my blog in just a little bit, and I will see you next week. All right, bye-bye.